You do it all without breaking a sweat, and you do it all in style. From being a boss exec to the Tuesday yoga to the kids' homework, family dinners, lunches, brunches, trips to the vet, and a weekend getaway that's anything but a getaway. That's why Infiniti fully reimagined the QX60 to help you conquer it all with ease. Even when you have back-to-back conference calls, on top of kids' basketball practices, not to mention your side hustle. A luxury SUV as functional as it is stylish and as versatile as it is serene. Available features like seating for up to 7 passengers, a suite of active safety features, and massaging front seats. Introducing the all-new Infiniti QX60, designed to help you conquer life in style. Legal, now with extremely limited availability. Contact your local retailer for inventory information. Hola, and welcome to episode 85 of Word to Your Mama. Word to Your Mama is a podcast about the life of a Latina mama, that's me, and the lives of my amazing multicultural tribe. It's a celebration of shared experiences navigating this dynamic world. There are always special guests, mad laughs, and absolutely no BS. Nah, B is our motto. Segments by the supernatural bear. He's 9 going on 39, 49, whatever you like. Other than that, this podcast will be explicit. Please believe it. And you might be asking, how did she get these dope guests? Award-winning directors, producers, artists, activists, and all this stuff. It's because I come from the music industry, the art industry that includes amazing graph artists, muralists. I was in the designer vinyl toy world. And now I have another industry that I'm a part of, and that's Web3. Which brings us to today's guest, Elizabeth Leon Gonzalez, Esquire. Please believe it. Put some respect on the name, on the Esquire. Don't leave it out. Elizabeth is a Web3 lawyer. She's from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, oh! You got to do it, especially if you're Gen X. She's bilingual. She's a crypto NFT enthusiast, investor, collector, and consultant in Web3. Her law practices include personal injury, criminal, business, IP, and of course, Web3. I had the honor and the pleasure of meeting her first virtually in the planning stages of Hola Metaverso. You can listen to the 2 episodes that we have regarding that. And then I got to meet her at the event. She also was on the amazing tax and law panel. It's always a hit, especially when we have it on the Twitter Spaces. And also she helped moderate a panel, I believe it was with Tatted, and I'm trying to remember if it was the community one, but it was one of those. So yeah, I got to meet her. She's also on the advisory board of Hola Metaverso now. We only have 5 people. And it's been an honor and pleasure. And she's, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can learn from everyone. And she's super young, but her enthusiasm, her passion, and her willing to just learn and be super helpful in so many different areas is a great thing to see. And it's an honor to say that I know her, that, we'll be working together and building together in this space for the communities, for all communities. It's a great thing. So in this episode, we talk about her roots, when law and Web3 merged for her, her thoughts on DAOs. And this was a question from Tatted, shout out to Tatted, and just we didn't go into what was a DAO. So I just want to break it down for you guys right now, for those that are new to the Web3 space or have no idea what we're talking about. A DAO stands for a decentralized autonomous organization, which basically is a community-led entity with no central authority, and it's on the blockchain via a smart contract. So it's deployed on the blockchain via smart contract saying like, these are the people you know that are part of this. And it's kind of like what ideally you would want a nonprofit to be. Instead of having, say, like a Goodwill that you're like, oh, this is a nonprofit and it does good for the people. Well, does it because there's a CEO that is making a grip of money and then it finally trickles down to help a few. You know what I mean? So that's what we talk about DAOs in that section in the questions and comments from the audience. That was a question from Tatted, a couple of questions regarding DAOs. That's what we're talking about. So you guys have an idea before we get into the conversation. She also goes into how she unplugs, how busy should be changed to active per one of her mentors, and so much more. So we'll get into that. And then the Supernatural Bear Corner. Unfortunately, the Supernatural Bear was feeling a bit under the weather. So what we're going to have for you today in that segment is a short little, he wanted me to make sure it was a work in progress of a song that he did, which sounds a lot like Interpol. I'll let you be the judge of that. So yeah, let's get into it. No, you sound good. You sound good. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, first of all, so great to see you again.
Yeah, same. It's been a while.
I know. And I know you've been like traveling and stuff, and hella busy. So I appreciate, I was like, she must be hella busy. I'm not even going to stress her. If she can't do it today, that's fine. I get it.
Had to make it happen.
Thank you so much. This is
Thank
awesome.
you for inviting me, though.
Because listen, I think you're dope. You know, you just from jump doing Hola Metaverso was such an amazing, it's such an amazing experience. And you were just one of the day ones that was there from jump, and we're helping, we're there at the meetings, we're coming up with the questions. You were always down for whatever. And I know you were hella busy. And then what you contributed to the actual day with not just being part of the panel, like everyone talks about that panel, right? You were on the law and tax panel, like it was gems. People were like, just like eating it up. But then also, you helped moderate, one or two panels, and I just, admire you.
I'm grateful for y'all to even think about me and, include me like this journey, right? Because I think it's the most important thing that we're going through this journey together, and we're all learning, right? Along the way. It was the first time moderating. It was crazy. So I'm grateful for Tatted because he had the hang of it. So I just have to follow along.
Yeah, and I said it last time too when we did the wrap up, but shout out to Tatted because it was his first. He does amazing job at Twitter Spaces, but then to do his first ever in person and bilingual too, like he did an amazing job. So definitely shout out to Tatted. I was just actually in a space right now.
Really?
He was hosting a space on supply chain, which was really dope. Right. Okay, so let's get started. Just like, how are you doing in general at this moment? We are still in pandemic, but we're feeling the effects of being hardcore how it was a couple of years ago. But how are you doing overall?
I'm doing good. Let me take this out real quick. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Bugging, but well, I'll get him done. But I'm doing good. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of things to juggle, but overall, I think I'm doing good. I'm excited for everything that's happening, everything that's coming. This is gonna be, it's been a crazy year with all the great events like Hola Metaverso. So met so many people through that project, to that event, that things just keep on coming, and I'm here for it. I'm just helping people, getting things done. That's all. What else can you ask for, right?
So overall, you're good.
I'm good. I'm great.
Just like hella busy.
Yeah, active though. A mentor of mine says, never say you're busy. You're just active.
Active. I love that. Active. So speaking of active, let's talk about, I don't know too much about you. Just, we got to meet all these amazing people, and sometimes we're on these Twitter spaces or, email chains or whatever. But I want to know, where did you grow? We just haven't had that conversation. Like, where did you grow up? Like, I know you went to school in San Diego at one point, but like, where did you grow up?
Yeah, well, I'm from Puerto Rico, born and raised.
Puerto Rico. Oh.
Yeah, so I'm from like a small town down south called Guayama. Have a lot of family in the mountains in Calle. So that's where I'm from. Then after that, I went to college in Atlanta and ended up in California going to law school over here. That's where I went in San Diego. And now I'm up, still in California, but going back and forth between here and Puerto Rico. Still have a lot of things going on there. All my family's there. So I always try to just be there as much as I can as well. So, but that's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. That's what made me who I am.
Awesome. So did your decision to get into law and Web3 happen at the same time? And if not, what were the roots for both of those things? When was the moment that you can remember, like, law, I'm gonna do that, and then Web3?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it wasn't at the same time. I think when I decided to go to law school, I wasn't even aware of Web3 at all. That's something that came after as I was finishing, college, going through law school and finishing law school. I'm like, this is the space I want to be in. But just for law, I think once I started college is when I actually decided I wanted to do law. Like I was interested in criminal justice, that whole area. And I started doing, political science classes, criminal justice classes. And it wasn't until I did like an internship in the public defender's office back in Puerto Rico, actually in my hometown, that I decided, this is what I want to do. I want to be an advocate. I always had that in the back of my mind, I think, because, growing up, people say, oh, tú debes ser abogada, just because you argue and stuff, to make your point. So I think that's something my family always told me, but I never even like pay attention to it. And then I look back and I'm like, that makes sense. That's kind of how I decided to go to law school. And once I made that decision that first semester in college, I was like, let's get this college done, try to finish as soon as I could. And then, did a couple, scouting, figured out where I would want to go for college, for law school. And California was the best bet, best scholarships, best opportunity, beautiful place. Who wouldn't like to go to San Diego? So I was like, let's do it. And honestly, I started going with the mindset I was going to do criminal law. That's kind of how I started going to law school. That was my mindset. I did a lot in like both prosecution, defense. I worked with the California Innocence Project, which was an amazing experience, getting to see people get exonerated, after being incarcerated for so long. And I still have a passion for it. It's not that I don't, and I still do criminal law on the side as well. But I saw tech can also change the world, right? And I saw this huge opportunity in Web3, which I'm grateful for my mentors to even putting me in that position. To meet people that were already in the space, that opened my eyes to the opportunities and, how much lawyers are needed in this space, because that's the reality of it. And I decided to, make that jump and I'm still learning. It's something I think all attorneys are, working in this space. We're still learning and going through, but that's kind of how I ended up here. And that's just a little bit of what I do.
So when you speak of your mentors, there were lawyers that were in the Web3 space?
Well, it's a little mix of everything. Some of them it's crazy because I'm just gonna name them because they've been a huge influence on me. But David Melser is one of my, biggest mentors, influences. I was, very, very grateful to have the opportunity to intern with him one summer when I started law school. He actually is an attorney. He took the California bar, he passed on all of that, but he was probably an attorney for a couple months, and then he went all entrepreneur and never practiced law in that sense. So he had a well-versed exploration and experience in the tech world, from working with the first smartphones, first legal research online, things like that. And just shadowing him and seeing all the people he was surrounded with, opened my eyes in that and mindset in a great way. And people I met through him also became mentors, like Mike Mumola, Hugo Sanchez, that are already in the space. And yeah, some are attorneys, and a lot of them don't even practice law anymore. They just do more of the entrepreneur business side of things and are now full on Web3, which, they opened my eyes to that whole space, and I'm super grateful for it. But yeah, those are just some of the great influence I've had and that have guided me through this space and got me in it, really.
And what excites you? I know, especially those that are in it, but for those who aren't in it, people always joke, right? A month in Web3 is like a year, or like, you know what I'm saying? Because stuff happens, stuff
It
changes
is.
from one day to another, like, and things are evolving. And so, what excites you about Web3 today?
I think that's really one of the bigger things like that I like. It always keeps you on your toes. There's always something new coming on, something new you got to prepare for, you got to research. Like you're always constantly learning and constantly trying to find solutions with what we have already, like our law, whether it is old or new. We still have to figure out how that all fits in, and if not, help try to make new legislation. Like try to talk with people that dedicate themselves to try to bring this up to whether it's a legislator, whoever it may be. But I think that's one of the biggest things that excites me. It always keeps you on your toes. So always something new coming on. And I think that's what brings the FOMO, how we call it in the space, because like you miss a week of being on Twitter and you're gonna be lost. Like it's crazy. Like I disconnect for a couple of days because of work and it's like, what's going on? But I think that's just amazing and just shows that people are really building in this space. They're not taking any breaks. They're here to build, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, even when shit's, quote unquote down. So, I know, y- do you see, what do you think is the difference between how attorneys and people in that side of things were trying to keep up with just Web 2 stuff, how technology, and it seemed it was kind of slow. Like you watch, I'm just addicted to, since I was younger, Law and Order, and there's always like, well, we haven't caught up with technology. So how are you guys keeping up with Web 3 if
We're not.
well, there it
We're
is.
not. We're trying, like even if some attorneys out, like say myself, like Ellie, like all these amazing attorneys
Shout out
probably that
Ellie.
are in this space like 24/7, right? It's not even up to them that the law catches up with the technology because we're not the ones making the law. We're just trying to, counsel, educate, and help make it all fit for our clients. But at the end of the day, we're not making the law. So and we're not the judges either. Like if you look, like judges are gonna be, more advanced age than attorneys like us that are in the tech
Please believe
space.
it. Hmm.
So you're trying to explain this to them, or politicians that have been, for years and decades in these positions. It's like it's a challenge. So it takes time. There's still laws trying to catch up with things like such as drones, like how long we've had drones, and they're still trying to figure out laws related to that. So I think that's why a lot of people don't necessarily look for attorneys' help because they're like, well, there's no law. Well, there's law. It's just not exactly tailored to what you're building, but
Mm.
there's still law there that could affect you somehow. So I think it's gonna take some time, especially waiting on these executive orders, everything that happens from that. It's gonna take some time, but it doesn't mean you gotta stop building. It doesn't mean you gotta risk it all
Exactly.
either. So it's just
Exactly.
finding that happy medium and that balance while you're building.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's get into, I think this will shed a lot of light on your history and your thought process. Questions and comments from the audience. So first up, do you believe the current structure of most DAOs will comply with future regulations? If not, what changes do you think will be needed? And that is brought to you by who we spoke about earlier, Tatted. Amazing
Uh,
Tatted, well, well versed in the space, especially when it comes to supply chain. And so he's asking that question.
Love it. I think what we see of DAOs now is not necessarily what we're going to see a year from now, especially with the cases we're seeing. They're, trying to argue both ways. Well, are DAOs a general partnership, like in terms of liability wise? So I think what we see now for DAOs is now we're going to see a year from now. And that's many things come into it. It's not just, what's the technical entity name, like now the ones that are getting registered, they're not just technically registered at DAOs, they're registered as an LLC. So there's still some type of entity that we already know. They're just tailoring it in a way that they could keep their names out. But at the end of the day, they could be categorized as general partnerships. Why? Because the whole point of a DAO is to have, equal power, everybody has a say in things. Depending how big this DAO is, makes it more complicated. If they're even doxxed, right? That's a whole other level of things.
Right.
Who are you going to go after when something goes down? Who's going to be liable for all these things? So I think it's a work in progress, but like everything, it's going to take time. It's going to take a couple lawsuits, honestly. That's the sad truth, but that's what's going to happen. Once we see this case, I forget the name, but the one that's right now in the courts, where they're actually suing, the DAO for getting them as liable for all those losses. And the attorney's argument is like, well, you are a general partnership because you're just all partners in this, project and whatever. So we'll see what happens from that. And then we'll see all these organizations and, groups of people changing the structure as it goes along. Like everything we're seeing now is a work in progress, whether it is NFTs, whatever it might be, everything's a work in progress. And a year from now, it's not going to look the same as we see it today.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Yeah, the landscape is going to look completely different. When it comes to DAOs, like the reason why I got into Web3 was when I heard about DAOs. It got me hella excited, and I was like, wow, this could really change things. But as I've been in the space and as what we're dealing with now, I don't know if it's the case that you mentioned, but lately there's been a lot of talk around DAOs and about how there's people with more money that are buying up more pieces.
You get whales in DAOs too, right?
Exactly. So they buy up, they buy up more, what are they called?
Governance tokens, and then they have more control.
Exactly.
So people might have this idea of DAOs, right? What we all want it to be, right?
This romanticized, idealistic notion. Yes.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, this is going to need a lot more regulation. I don't mean regulation from the government, but from the structure itself that's being created to avoid things like that, right? To avoid someone coming over and buying the majority of the governance tokens and, basically being the only one with a say. So there's a lot of things to it.
So is that something that, say like you and I are putting a DAO, or, starting a DAO, and is that something that we can kind of lay out from jump? Is like there's a limit, is that or is it no longer a DAO? Like I don't know if that changes, but is it like, okay, you can't, there's a limit, you can only buy these many portions or whatever?
I'm pretty sure someone can. Like right now there's no limitations to it, right? So it's how many tokens are going to be there, and then if it's going to even be a governance, because not all of them have governance tokens, right? Some of them do, some of them don't. Some that don't, then it might be more equal wise because nobody owns more than no one. But if you're talking about governance tokens, I'm pretty sure there's this many members and there's only going to be this limit per member. But I think you could do anything with DAOs. It just depends the way it's structured and the way it's run. But you can even have DAOs where instead of having it like a hierarchy, like regular companies, so they have a CEO, COO, whatever, you might not have something so structured like that, but you can have something where at least you have, someone that's like the voice of, this area of the DAO, like kind of like departments type of thing, to make it more control when it comes to DAOs that are like super huge in amounts of members. You're going to need some type of control because you can't, listen to every person. There are thousands of people in it. Right. But I think it depends on the DAO and, the possibilities are endless. So we'll see what happens.
It's fascinating, right? It's like, it's like fascinating just from a not, a
It's
non-lawyer.
like whatever you think, like you can make it happen. Really, like
That's
whichever
crazy.
way why we don't have this or that. Well, you can. So let's try it out and see if it works. Right now, we're in that trial and error phase where
Yeah.
we're gonna try so many things and see what works and what doesn't. So that's why a year from now, everything's gonna be so different.
That's exciting. What his third part to his question is: do you see DAOs as the future of Web3?
I think I see DAOs as a part of Web3. I don't think they are gonna be the like Web3 thing. I think Web3 is gonna be our world, really. Like if the way we hope for it to be, Web3 is gonna be incorporated in our government, in our daily lives, in terms of ticket entertainment, whatever it may be.
Right.
And DAOs are just gonna be one section of it, right? Like right now we have companies, and that's their structures, right? The same way we have an S corp, the same way we have an LLC, they're gonna be DAOs. So I think they're gonna be a part of it. I don't think it's gonna be like the main thing in Web3, but I think they have a bright future and they could solve a lot of problems. I forget the name of it, but there's people doing DAOs to help people litigate cases, right? People that don't have the funds to go against a huge company in a case. DAOs are bringing together this capital so they could fight that case. So there's a lot of community-led projects that I think will be great for the space if they are sustainable in the long run.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of seeing where it all goes. But there's a place for DAOs, I think, in every area, in every industry.
Yeah, definitely. There's all these types of applications for it. The one that I heard and that got me excited was to have a DAO so that people could, as a group, invest in medical research.
Love it.
And that's what got me hyped. I was like, hell yeah. And I was like, yeah, like the possibilities are endless. It can help so many marginalized communities. And I went in like,
I look at it too. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to solve all these problems. But then you're going to look and, okay, how we're going to protect these people that are doing great things, right?
Yeah.
They're doing amazing things. They have the best intentions. But it takes is one person in that whole group to bring it down. So you want to protect yourself if you're getting into DAOs, because all it takes is one person.
Exactly. So it's interesting. People are like, oh, let me, thinking about DAOs and just watching and peeping the scene and taking little gems. Like, okay, I'm not gonna do that, or I gotta make sure I do that, and always also make sure you have a dope lawyer at the ready. Like Elizabeth right here. Okay, let's go to some other questions and comments from the audience. We have, how would you describe the Hola Metaverso experience, and what would you say worked for that event? That's the first question from Oszie, the creator and founder of Hola Metaverso. Yeah.
Love it. Man, what? I mean, I loved everything. Like from the build up to it, to being there, to the aftermath, taking over social media after with all the pictures and everything. So I think it was amazing. It was like the first time, like a lot of people that were there, it was the first time we saw our community getting together in this space where, we could see people like us, in this space, all together, all sharing our experiences and opinions. So I think that's what made it truly magical, right? That it was all based on community. And it was community first, right? Communities what made the event, communities what filled up the event, and communities was like gonna keep it running, right? There's many events coming up, a lot of things getting planned. So I think that the biggest thing, like the secret sauce was community, and the fact that we all connected, through social media, and everybody somehow contributed to the success of it. I think that's the most beautiful thing.
Yes, thank you.
What makes it different from all the other events, right? Because you might see a panel about, Latinos, Hispanics, whatever they might call it on the title. But there's a whole different thing when you see, all panels, everybody's building, everybody's doing amazing things. Like you learn of these great projects you've never even heard before. And like you're given that space to them to shine, to share their projects, to share what they're building. I think that was beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's amazing to hear that feedback.
Y'all killed it. What else can I say? Y'all killed it.
Well, hopefully, like it wasn't a fluke, and we keep, we keep building, and you,
It's
everyone
gonna
listening,
get better from here. It's gonna get better.
exactly. You're only up. So hopefully, the next question that he had was, how do you take care of yourself physically and emotionally? How do you find peace?
Although I find peace, well, starting with my dog,
Cute.
hanging out with my puppy, that's one of the main things. But just going outside, doing fun things. Like, I don't really go out, like party and stuff, but I would go out like family and things like that, whether it is to the park, like take my dog to the park, like simple things like that just like
Yeah.
unplug.
Yeah.
Or even like even it's not really unplugging, but just going into random Twitter spaces that you could just, hang out. You're not the speaker. It's just
Yes.
this fun, weird spaces where you just get to laugh. Like I think just hanging out with friends in that way. I think even if it's digital, you're still disconnecting because you're not talking about work. You're not, answering questions and things like that. So I think just people just do whatever you like, whether that is sport, workout, whatever it may be. Just take some time to do it because this gets crazy when you're in it 24/7. Like you have that phone on you all day. It gets to be a lot sometimes.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's a lot to be a lawyer. I mean, I have a niece, I have a brother-in-law, lawyer. So I know that's just a grip anyways, and especially depending on what type of law. But you are adding being a lawyer.
Like I'm
with
going to court, guys. Like I still do Web2 stuff.
exactly. And then you add Web3, which in itself
Yeah.
is crazy. I mean, yeah, you definitely have to figure out what works for you to unplug. So nice that you are out and about, or, like you said, some random. So I do that too sometimes late
I
at
do that
night.
sometimes.
I just was
I'm
like,
not
what
gonna
is this
lie.
about? And I'm like, well, this is crazy. Oh, word?
Yeah.
Like there's some crazy, you're doing all this stuff right now? Or
Yeah.
it's
Or
nice.
just chill and watch a movie, whatever it may be. Just put your phone away and just enjoy it for that hour.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get into the not so rapid fire questions, the AKA slow as hell questions. Are you ready?
Ooh, I'm ready. I think so. We'll see.
Some of them go quick, some of them are slow, depending on the person. So the first one is 3 words to describe yourself.
Ooh, 3 words to describe myself. I think outgoing, fast learner, and hard worker. I think those are
Yeah.
3 to describe me. Yeah.
Yeah. Second one, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, this one's a good one because it sounds weird at first, but when you think about it, it makes sense. So this one, my mentor, David Melser, gave. Well, he says it all the time, but it's like be more interested than interesting, and that might sound a
Yeah.
little weird,
No, it
but
doesn't.
you should
Mhm.
always try to be whatever it may be you're trying to do accomplish. Like he makes this example where he said he wanted to be a doctor, he wanted to be a sports doctor, and he goes to a hospital and he says, I hate hospitals. So his brother is like, well, you're gonna be a doctor and you're doing pre-med. And he's like, well, I'm gonna be a sports doctor. I'm gonna be in the field. I'm like, that's not how it works. So he then took it a step further. And that goes with all of us somehow. Like we think something, we have this idea of things, but you should always try to, inform yourself, look more into it. And that's just super important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You should know the difference of
Yeah.
those two things. The next one is fascinating for me. Every time I ask it, what is the song that your go-to song to get you hyped when you need to?
To get me hyped. Well, sometimes it depends on the Bad Bunny song that's out. Not gonna lie. But if I wanted to say one that I listened to a lot during bar prep, and I took 3 bars, so
Hell
that's
yes.
yeah, but that's Hall of Fame by will.i.am. That's a big song to hype you up, to motivate you. I think that's a big motivating song.
Nice. So that's heavy rotation, especially during that time for you.
That's when I'm crunching, like I need some motivation to be like, why am I even doing this? That's gonna remind you like you're here to do big things and just gotta put in the work. But it's Hall of Fame, but will.i.am.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll be adding that to the Word to Your Mama guest hype song playlist that I have on Spotify, which is
Ooh.
crazy. We have everything from like salsa to like indie rock, punk,
Love it.
English, Spanish stuff. We got it all. So I'm adding that to the list. We always have that link in the show notes. Make sure to check it out there. Final question of these is, Elizabeth, what will be your legacy?
Oh, my legacy. You know, nobody has ever asked me this. And you hear people ask that to, you hear people answering those questions, but I've never actually been asked that. I think my legacy, just remember as someone that's always willing to help, right? Willing to help empower others, you know, while also leaving a good example for people to follow. So I think just being someone that was there for her community to help and elevate it. That's it.
Amazing. And, you know, you're talking about how you're from Puerto Rico, and I saw that you were there recently, and you posted
Amazing.
this super cute series of videos and pictures of you with your abuelitos, and I think they had the Oculus.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy. Those are like mis bisabuelos. So,
Oh, wow. Oh,
like
so
my
great.
grandparents'
Oh,
parents.
wow.
So, yeah, so that was beautiful. Like, that's one of the reasons I always try to go back so often, because I'm blessed to still have them. And I'll try to, you know, be with them no matter what I'm doing. Like, I'm always going to make time to be with them, be with my family in general. But, you know, those are moments I really treasure. So yeah, I got him on the metaverse. They were like, "Oh my God, what is this?" And I'm like, "It's okay. We'll put it stationary so you don't have to walk, and no one falls." So I had them sitting on the couch, and I put him like to go to space and all kinds of cool stuff. And you know, they had tons of fun. They were laughing it off. So it was one of the best experiences I've had in Web3, honestly.
That's amazing. And then I think, I don't know if it was video or photo in that series of them like hugging each other or something. Oh my God. Melted.
Yeah, like going to like, I don't know, like almost like 70 years together is it's crazy. So yeah, they're always together, always hugging, like it's beautiful. Yeah, they're like 90 something right now, and it's been together since they were teens. So
that's crazy. What a gift, man. What a gift to have some people don't even have their grandparents around anymore, you know, let alone your great grandparents. So that's amazing. Elizabeth, muchísimas gracias for being here with me, taking the time out of your crazy busy schedule. It is
active.
Oh yeah, let me change that mindset. Let me change the vocab.
Creates resistance. We're active.
We are active. Remember that shit, kids. Active. Yeah, out of your active schedule. Thank you so much. And I'm going to have all the links to all your stuff in the show notes. Make sure to follow her. She's always in spaces, just dropping gems. She's also part of the advisory board for Hola Metaverso. Please believe that. And so thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Gracias a ti. Thank you so much.
And now, introducing
the Supernatural Bear Corner. Supernatural Bear.
There you have it, folks. Episode 85, A Word to Your Mama. How dope was she, right? You felt her energy, you felt her passion, and muchísimas gracias to Tatted and Oszie for the questions and comments from the audience. One that didn't make it on time, but luckily I had already asked, is from Dimelo, Bryan. Muchísimas gracias, Bryan, for getting that in. Regardless, unfortunately, it didn't make the time, but I did ask it, so we got the answer anyways. So yeah, that was episode 85. One thing that I think I might have mentioned in one of the episodes, but I will say it again. Tatted, the guy who asked the question, the guy that we talked about that was a host for Hola Metaverso, who is a great asset to the scene, to the space of Web3. He's from Sonora, Mexico. One thing that he told Luis from Learn is after the Hola Metaverso event. We all talk about it, and we're just like, oh, put it on a shirt, put it on a sticker or something. He says, we're hungry, but we're not thirsty. How great is that? It's a gem, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're in a new space, it's about always staying hungry because you want to learn, you want to, share, you want to, just be immersed in the space, and you're always looking and you're always researching, you're always trying to get more information, but you're never thirsty, and there's a difference. And those that know. And then the Supernatural Bear song, please tell me that does not sound like Interpol, but it makes so much sense because music is such a huge part of my life. And so he was and Interpol's one of my favorite bands. So he definitely heard it in utero. It's one of the bands that I would play in the car that would help put him memes. So it's in his subconscious. He was dreaming to it. So when he brought me that, he's like, you want to listen to a song I've been working on? I was like, yeah. And then I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So then I started playing him some of the tracks that kind of sound. Somebody's like, oh yeah, I see that. And so, so it's funny. He did another version with lyrics that are really good, but he was a little too shy for me to send that or put that in there because it's even this was a work in progress, a whip, if you will. So yes. And then always, thank you so much for supporting. The different ways you can support, leave a review, tell your folks, tell your peeps, tell your friends. We got a store where you can buy t-shirts, enamel pins. I believe that's what's in there so far. You can become a patron. There's a link to all of that stuff in our bio and in the show notes. And as always, we reap. Word to Your Mama is owned and produced by Ritzy P. Intro beat produced by Nico Beats. If you want to know more, you want to email us, you want to get the media kit, go head over to wordtoyourmama.com. Word to Your Mama is now part of the Latina Podcasters Network. And as always, Word to Your Mama is brought to you by ritzyperiwinkle.com.